Welcome back to Inside Sources. As the national budget and the state's budget, by the way, are being discussed about now, we want to look at why is it that the budgeting process is not delivering year after year to the people. People will hear big figures, 49 trillion and all of that, but it seems that the impact doesn't seem to go all the way. To join me in that important conversation today, I have a public budgeting expert who is also a management consultant, Dr. Emeka Ejinkonye, in the studio. Dr. Emeka, welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much for having me, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year. And very, very, very simple. So we started the budgeting cycle again. You know, as a matter of fact, some of the states have even passed their budget, but the federal budget is not been passed. The president delivered it last month. Hopefully, maybe by the end of this month or so, about 49 trillion thereabout. But what I have observed is that the impact of 49 trillion, 20 trillion, whatever the figure, doesn't go down all the way. You know, so I thought, what do you think is responsible for that? If you agree that there is that gap from the budgets that we hear and what happens at the grassroots. Dr. Emeka.
Thank you very much. Let me say, the simple answer is that what we do in Nigeria and what we have been doing since independence has been just merely 20% of the process. Budgeting is a whole gamut of activity from a beginning to an end. About 70% of that activity involves public administrators, which is developing and executing public policy programs.
Okay.
I give you the example. When a president comes into office, a president or a governor at the state level comes into office, he comes in with a vision statement. Presently now, what we have is renewed hope. Budgeting is the instrument that will help the president to convert that vision, translate it into activity to achieve desirable social effects, right?
Yes.
So budgeting, one thing required there is what is called institutional coordination, which we lack in Nigeria. Institutional coordination thrives on monitoring and evaluation. Monitoring and evaluation unfolds through the, unfolds through the auditing of the performance of the civil servants.
So can you speak through to this graphic?
Yeah, this is the existing institutional structure of the existing budgeting practice in Nigeria.
Okay.
You can say three groups of people here: the legislature and the executive. Okay, yeah. The executive is represented by the Mr. President and his appointees, who are the ministers.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
That's the government.
Right.
This is the government. Legislature, executive. That's the government.
Right.
The next group is what this organizational structure we call the civil service. The next group is the Nigerian citizenry.
Right.
There, you can see Nigerians are on their own. There's no connection between the government and the Nigerian citizen, because for government to deliver services, it has to walk through the civil service. But unfortunately, our governments have not been able to subject the civil service under effective control to deploy all of them. Today, we have about 30 ministries. Let me say 30 ministries.
Thereabout,
right?
Yeah.
Thereabout. Now, the president must be in a position to be able to put them under effective control, to marshal all of them out at the same time to achieve a purpose.
And so your point is that in this existing structure that you have depicted in this graphic, that is not happening.
It's not happening. You can see the first point of interaction between the government budgeting agency and just the finance sectors of the civil service. It does not integrate the whole of the civil service. You can see the budget unit of it's actually a unit. It's not even up to a director. It's not a directorate. Right? So
that head of budget unit, where is it?
The head of budget unit is an office under the director of finance and accounts.
Okay.
Right?
The
director of finance reports to the permanent secretary. So the permanent secretary is superintending over the director of finance and accounts. The director of finance is superintending over the head of the budget unit. And these are the people that interact. And that's why what they build up, I must say, are fictitious programs and projects. They are fictitious. They are not founded on any effective, realistic interaction with the Nigerian people.
Because according to this graphic, there's no connection to them at all.
There's no connection.
Well, now, what do you mean by first point of state capture?
Of state capture, because what they do there are fictitious buildings. I'm sorry to say.
So where does that happen?
It happens in this interaction between the budget office of the Federation and the
civil service,
and the finance departments
of the civil service.
So not all of the civil service.
So between the budget office,
yes,
and the Directorate of Finance and Accounting,
yes,
of the civil service, that is where the first point of state capture happens.
Yes, that's what the point.
So when you say state capture, what do you mean by that?
That is where we misappropriate the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth of Nigerians. This money we are talking about is supposed to belong to all Nigerians, but at the end of the day, it goes into private pockets.
Interesting.
That is where it happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Today, you can see the arrow pointing from that Minister of Budget.
Right.
To the President is one way.
Yeah.
From the President to the
legislator
is one way. You can see the President merely submits the budget to the there's no interaction between the President and the members of the National Assembly. The next point of interaction is
if you say there's no interaction between the President and the legislator, what about when all these MDAs and everybody
that is where we are today.
going to? Okay.
That's where we are today.
So that's an
interaction between the President. It is an interaction between the President and the civil service. What we are doing today is actually, you can say, you might be saying it is headed, these things are headed by the minister, the individual minister, which is there.
Right.
But the truth is that it is the permanent secretary and the director of finance and this, either a deputy director or assistant director under him, that actually lead this team in this interaction with the legislators.
And then you have captured, there are MDAs.
Yeah.
So this captures ministries.
Yeah.
There are also departments and agencies. So you mean also that the heads of the departments and the agencies like DGs, MDs, they are also captured as part of the civil service.
My brother, let me say this, we use certain jargons which I personally don't agree with.
Okay.
A ministry,
yes,
comprises departments.
Okay, I see your point.
A ministry is an agency of government.
That's true.
So when you say MDA, you're playing around with words.
But the reason why I said that is that, so for instance, JAMB registrar is the one that is talking to the legislator, to the National Assembly for their budget, not the permanent secretary for education. Do you get my point?
In the olden days, JAMB used to be called a parastatal of government.
Yes.
Today we have thrown that word away. JAMB is an agency that, if you watch well, is superintended over by the Ministry of Education.
So are you saying that is so are
they are all agencies of government?
So it's part of your argument that all these agencies shouldn't be doing the interfacing. That should be the ministry that should be doing it. Is that part of your argument?
No. This interaction between the civil servants, generally, whether it is JAMB, whether it is the ministry, is not necessary.
Okay.
What the legislators mean is one word: information.
Okay.
If you can get honest information, as long as you can get honest information
from
the civil service on their interactions, the transparency and probity.
Right.
If you can get honest information, you don't need this interaction. That is why the comprehensive budget, which is the budgetary reform I'm agitating for, would address this issue. And I'm telling you that this second point of, you can see the interaction again between the legislators and the civil servants.
That's where the second capture takes place.
What is happening? I mean, you might decide not to say it, but those who know. What is happening today is you guys have cornered your own. Where is our own? So that is why by the time they finish, you will hear the word budget padding. Right?
Interesting.
That is what is happening today. You will hear that word budget padding. They have just what. So at the end of the moment the president signs that budget into law, bam, it becomes a law. The accountant general what we call cash backing in our local parlance.
Right.
Once he releases that fund, the money goes either into the pockets of the legislators, the permanent secretary, directors, and all that, or to the members of the executive.
Interesting.
That is the state capture.
So how do you think that this can be reformed? Should we go to the next slide?
Yeah, we'll go to comprehensive
to the next.
This is what Nigeria requires to survive.
Please, can you explain
the foundation of good governance for this country? Because budgeting, actually, my brother, is governance in practice. It is practicalizing budgeting. The instrument for practicalizing governance is budgeting. And that is why you need this structure now. You see, now you have these three groups. You can see now, rather than minister of budget under this second slide, you have the average minister.
Okay, where is that?
Look at the minister there.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So it is not minister of budget. What we now have is a minister.
So are you saying that we should scrap the Ministry of Budget and National Planning?
It has to go. If we must go the way it is now, it has to go and be restructured.
So what? So you don't think we shouldn't keep Ministry of National Planning?
That ministry has to be restructured. It has to be reorganized. Now, look at the office of the president. You can see 2 agencies under the Mr. President there.
Yes, executive budgeting agency.
You can see the executive budgeting
and then the council of advisors,
economic advisors.
So this
we don't have.
This is basically like an American model.
Yes, but what are we practicing now, Lou? American model. Why are you taking some and leaving some?
So the executive budgeting agency should be in the presidency.
In the office of the president.
And then all national planning should now be located in the ministries. Or they should have representatives.
When you say, again, my research exposure says there's budgeting is planning. So you can't have budget and planning.
Differently, okay.
You can't have budget
so essentially every aspect of planning and budgeting, which is the same, I agree with you, should be in the presidency.
Yes, the budgeting, which is the activity, the budgeting is like the heart that nurtures the process for achieving renewed hope. Planning is the vision, the time frame to achieve it within 4 years.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
So in the office of the president now, we formally have a council of economic advisors that has support staff and principal staff. The president, a new president, will come in with his or her own
council of advisors,
economic advisors.
And they will name an head of the agency.
Do not head it. The same thing with the executive budgeting agency in the office of the president, so that when the president is coming in, he comes in with whether we call it DG or director of budgeting, but that person is reporting directly to Mr. President. And Mr. President is giving order. That means the Mr. President now plays a role, direct role in budgeting in Nigeria.
Okay, I mean, Dr. Emeka, the Minister of Budget and National Planning today still reports directly to the president, though.
Not the budget of the federation. That's what I need you to understand me. This agency, executive budgeting agency, is likened to the budget office of the federation, which today is merely performing a finance. And just what it does actually is just allocate resources.
Just funding.
Just
financing.
Just allocating resources to objects that are fictitious. Actually. Do you understand?
All right. Now, so just summarize this because of our time. Summarize this graphic.
Now, also you have that same when a minister is coming, rather than coming with a special advisor. In fact, today I hear they even have chief of staff, so ministers. The minister comes in with the director of budgeting. That director of the budgeting department
in each ministry.
Yes, the budgeting department in each ministry is in the office of the minister, because that's the instrument with which the minister coordinates. If you look at here, you see what I call the field level managers. Every agency, the civil service is structured. There's a hierarchy of command from the permanent secretary down to a field level office where they interact directly with the Nigerian citizenry. So that in the Ministry of Agriculture, you have an office that has a boss, a superior, but only should be interacting with Nigerian farmers or livestock, as the case may be.
Right.
For the Ministry of Aviation, you have the officers that interact with the flying public in Nigeria in the airport. Particularly in the Ministry of Defense, you have this what they call forward operation basis. Yesterday I was watching a program about 70 officers of that were condemned to death for mutiny and later committed to 10 years and then later pardoned.
Right.
Those guys are the ones that should be developing, because they are the ones experiencing the problem. They should be the ones developing programs of the defense ministry
as field level managers.
Field level managers.
So how do they relate to the citizenry?
It's this interaction, because in defense now, they are the ones interacting with the enemy. In that case, it's peculiar because it's an enemy. They know the kind of arms. Like one of them was talking about the Boko Haram guys. If they are at Lekki, you can hear them.
Right.
They are in Agege, you can actually hear these guys coming from. So they know that they are the ones feeling. So they are the ones that can tell you what kind of arms and ammo they require to counter it. You understand? And this will now be negotiated up down to the office of the president. So you understand? So it is this, the Ministry of Agriculture, it is also this field level officer that should interact with Nigerian farmers. Because it is the hope you want to renew. It's the hope of Nigerians, not the hope of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it is the Nigerians that must tell you what they want to be done. And it is these officers here, these officials here. And by the time you do this, you're carrying the whole civil service. Because you're no longer just talking about the finance department. This thing, you're dragging in the whole body of the civil service. You're dissipating discretionary authority down the line to the field level unit.
Right.
And this interaction is what will bring Nigerians in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emeka Ejikoye, for coming to Inside Sources, and thank you for this very insightful reform that you have proposed. We won't relent, and that's why we have Inside Sources, just to push this idea. Thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for watching. It's another end of our program today, and like we always say, Nigeria will prevail because we won't relent. Thank you for watching. My name is Lalu Akonde. I see